Alright, yeah. I'm not done being angry. Here's an opinion which I think is pretty common. Subscriptions kind of fucking suck. Problem is that on their face they offer you something that seems kind of cheap. You look at it and you think, oh, $15 a month, that's doable. But one day you'll grow up and you'll start to pay a mortgage, and you'll realize when your parents used to complain about bills all the time, they were kind of right. But all of that aside, those cheap subscriptions end up chewing a lot of your account, because everything these days is a subscription. So they kind of just all add together and then come out at the end of the month, and you're like, oh, what the fuck, where did all my money go? At the end of every month, if you don't make a metric fuck ton like I don't, which I'm guessing a lot of you don't either, you play hot potato and go, well, I guess I don't really have enough of this, or I don't really need this, and blah 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 blah. And this is why I think plugins shouldn't be a subscription ever. I've noticed this funny little fucking thing where plugins have all gone up in price if they still offer a standalone version. Even then, the subscription, which is the alternative, will have paid for that plugin in sometimes less than 2 years. Let me start with one that I find mildly annoying. It definitely isn't the worst. And I feel like this is going to be a little bit controversial. STL Tones. Probably most famous for the Ignite Emissary, which fucking rocks. I still use that to this day. And it's a free amp sim. But they have this pretty cool thing called Amp Hub, which costs $15 a month. They do that little scammy thing where they say $10 a month billed annually, but I'm just going to call it $120 a year. So $15 a month or $120 a year, which gives you access to heaps of amps and other shit, yada, yada, yada. The problem is that if you did want to get this standalone, you don't get access to the same thing as the subscription. In fact, you only get one amp for $120, which, if I'm not wrong, is even more than what Neural DSP charges. And it just begs that question, well, when Neural is already there, who would do this? And the answer is not very many people. And I like STL, and I think this is probably one of the least rippy-offy instances of this I've seen. But, like, it still sucks. It's basically saying, if you want this shit, get the subscription and pay us consistently. But no, I'd just buy Neural. So, from bad to worst, and I think this is one of the worst ones we're going to talk about. Let's talk about Auto-Tune. Like it or not, it's essentially a must in any studio these days. I'm not here to talk about that. I actually like Auto-Tune. My problem is they're doing the same fucking thing, and these prices are insane. $200 a year or $30 a month. How can you ask that from a customer? Like, just think, like, you wouldn't pay that for a compressor or a delay or a reverb, would you? No, so why would you with this? Because when you boil it down, it's the same thing. It's just as important in a signal chain if you're going for that sort of sound. And especially when there's alternatives out there from competitors that are like a tenth of the price. And the thing is, you can get this standalone version, which is $500, which is still insane. But when you're asking for a subscription that is just a little bit of a discount, if you do it over a couple of years, which you're going to use this for more than a year, like, that's just simple. This just isn't right. It's insane. And it's not even the worst one. The worst one, in my opinion, is the DAWs, because I don't think you can even buy some of these DAWs outright anymore. And the subscription for Pro Tools, for example, is a whopping $500 a year. When I bought Pro Tools 8 years ago outright, that's how much it cost. That was a whole Pizza Hut paycheck, but still, like, I think this is probably a personal thing, but the one that bothered me a lot, because it affected me a lot, was that I used Splice for a really long while. And I know everybody likes it, but it's just so scammy to me. I was subscribed forever. I had heaps of credits, and 1 month I just cancelled it because I was working too much to use it, and I just lose hundreds of credits. Now, it was just like a whole lot of money poured down the drain. Like, if I'm subscribed or not, I was subscribing for those credits. I was subscribing to get sample packs, and I put money into that. I had credits, but because I unsubscribed, I lost everything. Now I just buy sample packs because it's pretty much the fucking same price. Splice is good for taking one sample from a sample pack and doing that. But let's be real. When you are in a studio and you're making music, you're not buying more than a sample pack a month. Let's just be completely fucking honest. You're going to get a couple. You're going to go, these are my sounds. I'm going to use these. That's what I do. So what am I saying? Well, shouldn't shit this expensive be like a rent to own? I mean, it seems like the best outcome for everybody. They're still getting their money, and it's really not that different. I mean, I think a lot of people would like a rent to own feature, but no one offers this option, and it's mind-boggling, especially with, and I hate saying this, but the cost of living at the moment. I know you don't need plugins, but come on, man, this is just fucked up. My advice, and maybe it's not great advice, but don't spend your money on this shit. Get hardware. Most music shops will be willing to do some sort of pay them gradually, and you get the item once you've fully paid it off. I've done that before. I don't know if your local music shop will do that. I've literally done it with some of the gear that you can see behind me now. I'm not saying do this, but most places will offer like a paying for type of situation. In my head, that's not that much worse than paying a fucking subscription that is this expensive, but you know what, do as you will. I'm not encouraging that. I'm just saying it is an option. Debt is very, very real. But for real, for these amp sims, you can get a good second-hand head for the price of some of these for a year. And I think that's a way better option. Not to mention multi-effects prices are probably, you can get them for like the price of 1 year of these things. And with the right IR, like, some of these can sound identical to some of these STL tones and stuff. Also, I want to make a quick shout out to cheap plugins if you like those. Safari pedals are great. I love them. Don't be tricked by their name or anything. I use them on vocals and everything. They're awesome. And try Waves' shit. Waves gets a really bad rep because they're kind of like the cheap plugin company, but I genuinely think people just have some sort of preconceived bias with, you can't have something that good for that cheap. Some of them are pretty good. Not all of them, but some of them are pretty good. Man, Australian afternoon sun, man. Okay, I'm gonna have to cut this short, but I hope I got my point across. Thank you very much for watching.